joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Kyle Bailey, WFNZ does afternoons. And Kyle, A, what's up? B, look, man, I don't think anybody really expected the Carolina Panthers to have an overwhelmingly great season, maybe flirt with making the playoffs. Nobody expected this dumpster fire 5 weeks in, right? Nobody expected this.
No, that's their problem. Messaging and expectations. Good morning, by the way, gentlemen. But yeah, I don't think they did a great job of setting expectations or messaging, especially if they felt like this was going to be a tough year. Now, I don't think they did. And I've talked about this week, and you've probably seen the video circulating where you can go back, a long time ago to many, many months ago, where the general manager said, hey, me and the assistant GM went through the roster from last year and this year side by side, and we've concluded that this year's roster is as good or better at every position except for one. And therefore, we believe we should be contending for the division this year, even with, yes, a rookie quarterback. So there were those that were skeptics, no doubt. I had him basically at 500 because why not? I thought the division was terrible. But this is objectively awful and unwatchable and probably bad enough that somebody's going to get fired. But who knows if that's coming? I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, everything about it's terrible, and they can't honestly say they expected this.
Let's get right there. Let's start with Frank Reich. I mean, it's entirely possible he doesn't make it to season 2. They go 0-17, which is on the table based on what we've seen so far. Buddy, it's on the freaking table, man.
It's such a long way, and I keep telling you, he's going to play at some point and win a game.
Okay,
I'm with Giglio on this one. Giglio's right. They're going to win a game or two.
All right, the chances of Frank Reich being fired after one season, where would you put them?
Higher than they used to be.
Okay.
But just look, we've seen it happen. The Texans did it twice. Nathaniel Hackett got chopped. We saw Jim Tom Sula get pink slip, not that. So I mean, there have been plenty of examples of this.
Yeah.
So is it possible? Sure. If they were to go winless, you have to fire the guy.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you have a choice. But if they win a handful of games, you're probably looking at some point a change in the front office and a mandate to Frank next year. I better see serious improvement, and I better see it quickly, or you're gone. So I think that's probably the most likely thing that happens.
Okay, so Scott Fitterer, where is he on the hot seat scale right now? I mean, they get to the bye week. They get to the bye week winless. Something's got to give, right?
Oh, I think he's if you feel like you need to fire someone, if you're David Tepper, that's the guy you're firing. And look, I've been begging them kind of tongue in cheek, but I'd really like to know, like, who's the last Matt Rule decision that we can just draw the line from Matt Rule and then we start evaluating Scott Fitterer. And I begged David Tepper. I was like, leak it to one of the writers. It doesn't have to be me or anybody. Just leak it to somebody. So but the thing is, you can't look at this roster and feel like they've done a good job. Now, I think they've got some good players on it, but they have no depth. And that was a concern coming into the season. And not only is it what we feared it could be, look at Houston. Like, they're starting over with a rookie quarterback. They've been suffering injuries. Their whole entire offensive line went down 2 weeks ago, and they didn't give up a sack. And, I understand that the interior of the offensive line for Carolina has been, nicked up for sure, but they still have both starting tackles and their starting center. Like, you'd think that if Houston can do what they're doing, they'd be able to get by a bit better here in Carolina. So, up and down the roster, it's hard to point to many wins for Scott Fitterer. Frankie Louvu was a really solid piece of pro scouting. He's a really good player and a guy I'm sure they'd like to keep around. They get credit for that. I think Sam Franklin's been a good guy, to have as a depth piece and on special teams. But in so many other places, they're just not good enough. And that's the general manager's fault. So, pardon me. I think he's the first and most likely to go.
Where were you during the draft process on Bryce Young, and where are you now after 5 games on Bryce Young?
So I like C.J. Stroud a lot in the beginning. I was one of those that felt like he might be more prototypically, Frank Reich's type of guy. Mm-hmm. And then I started to realize that they were turning more toward Bryce Young. And I did like Bryce. And then I learned things about Bryce that I wasn't quite aware of. And I went back and rewatched him. And, I do believe still that Bryce Young can be a very good NFL quarterback. I think that David Tepper, you've seen the other video of David Tepper back in the spring saying that, he's a point guard. So, we could probably save some money at the wide receiver position. And I don't know that enough was made of that back then. In fact, I know it now. And you're looking at the offensive line room or the wide receiver room, and you're like, oh, that was his plan kind of all along. Adam Thielen was brought in here, and there were some people saying, well, you got your number one wide receiver, and the rest of us like, whoa, that's a terrible idea. Like what?
I mean, to be fair to Adam Thielen, he's been okay.
He's been good. He's been good. But if you're a good football team, when he's 33 years old, you need him to be your number 2 or 3 option.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I thought the signing of Adam Thielen was great for a rookie quarterback. I love that he's here, right? But you see that philosophy that David Tepper kind of snuck into a soundbite back in April playing out on the field. Terrace Marshall Jr., who they forgot about Sunday, was a big part of their plans coming in. DJ Chark, a guy who does have talent, but they knew he couldn't stay healthy when they brought him in. Well, he missed the first game, and he's dealt with some injuries, and he hasn't been spectacular by any means. And Jonathan Mingo, I think he could be a good player, but they could have taken Tank Dell in the 3rd round like Houston did, and Tank Dell's running wild all over defenses right now. So they don't have a great wide receiver room. They brought Hayden Hurst in here to be the pass-catching tight end, and then they run pocket screens for Ian Thomas, the blocking tight end.
Like, what is that?
And so you just don't know what they're doing or why they're doing these things. And so I circling back to the point, how am I supposed to properly evaluate Bryce Young when the head coach is doing all sorts of things that don't make sense and everybody sees it?
No, I'm in total agreement with you on that. But we're also getting the sense that Frank Reich didn't want Bryce Young to begin with.
I don't think so.
And it's starting to look more and more like these David Tepper decisions are the things that are coming home to roost, which gets back to Frank Reich and whether or not he'll survive the year. Look, there's a fine line, Kyle, between transparency and honesty. Him talking about Terrace Marshall, like, yeah, that's on me. I should have gotten him in the play, XYZ. I saw that from the press conference this week. But the thing that finally got the Panthers to go national in terms of conversation was this, like, really unforced error in talking about David Tepper and the relationship where he caught himself in real time. Like, yeah, man, these meetings suck. And nobody likes meetings. I get that. I hate meetings. Joe hates meetings. We all hate performative meetings. But you can't say that out loud while the owner is watching and then catch yourself going, I mean, they're challenged, but they're very productive. Very, very, very productive. I just felt like they're not fun. Watching it in real time. I'm just thinking to myself, dude, that's an unforced error that can get you out of here pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, but it's nothing that people don't already know.
Yeah,
that's the thing is that we know he's domineering. We know he's aggressive. We know he wants to be in the room talking about these things because, I mean, this is the Michael Jordan of Wall Street we're talking about, like David Tepper, who, by the way, has seen his net worth double since he bought this football team several years ago.
Good for him. That's the beauty of football ownership. You can suck and still find it that, you know what, I'm going to make some money when it's all said and done. I love that about sports.
We had a great send-off for Michael Jordan a couple of months ago. So he did that too.
You say David Tepper's the Michael Jordan of the financial war, but you know what? Michael Jordan, as it's kind of playing out, might be a better owner than David Tepper at this point.
Well, I mean, David Tepper's won nothing to this point. Now, he's heavy-handed in personnel decisions, much more so than he probably should be. As someone – I don't know how you feel about this. I don't know if I'm talking to wrestling fans or not. I am not, but I got the analogy someone gave me the other day. They called him the Tony Khan of football owners because he's just a rich guy, billionaire playing with human.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Kyle, you back? Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay. I should have put it in airplane mode, but
no, it's fine.
No, I mean, David Tepper, to go back to what you said a minute ago, I believe the national media running wild with this Frank didn't want Bryce Young narrative is wrong. I don't believe that. I think that has caught on like wildfire, but, I feel very comfortable with the conversations I had over there with key decision makers. And I've never gotten one iota of a sense that, Frank vehemently did not want Bryce Young. David Tepper, though, those meetings, he wants answers. And I'll be honest with you. I came in the Monday after the very first preseason game, and I'm sure you two talked about it then, but that first preseason game was kind of a letdown, right? And I came in on Monday, and I said, listen, I'm never going to do the thing where I overreact to a preseason game. But after all this hype, after spending all this money on these former quarterbacks, these proven offensive gurus to get that, after all this, I was like, if I'm David Tepper, I'm a little irritated today, right? And my understanding is he's just grown more and more irritated ever since that day because it hasn't gotten better. And he spent a lot of money, and he's now presiding over 5 going on 6 straight years of no playoff football, and fans are checking out. They're finally, yelling at him. He's in the crosshairs of the national media, and so he's really starting to feel it. And Frank is bearing the brunt of that right now, much of his own doing. But, David Tepper wants answers.
What do you consider like your best strength, Kyle?
Me?
Yeah. You almost got to do a spit take there. Like, wait a minute.
Like you got here, right? Like you got here. You want me to go first?
Yes, please. Give me an example.
I'm good at asking questions, and I'm good with people. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, imagine.
I'm good at relationships. I'm good at forming relationships. With
yeah, like let's try to relate to David Tepper right now, because this is where it struck me. I'm watching the 49ers. It's 2 weeks ago. Not the Dallas blowout, but it was 2 weeks ago. I'm watching the 49ers, and they're talking about how quickly Brock Purdy processes everything. Yeah. And they brought it up because this is going on Bryce Young's epitaph, okay? Professional football epitaph. He scored great on the 10s plus, whatever the video game test was, right? But the reason they took him, Bryce Young, is because Brock Purdy had like a perfect score on this thing. So the Niners took him with the last possible pick. Kyle, do you know what the last possible pick in the NFL draft is by very definition? It is a distressed asset. And all I know about David Tepper and how he got here is what I've learned on Wikipedia. Because I don't know shit about the stock market. I don't know shit about what he does, other than it says he made his hedge fund money on distressed assets. Yeah. Why on earth, if you and I are good at relationships or you and I are good at questions, let's go try to make money in another field by doing what we're good at. He's now in a new field trying to make money at something he has no clue what he's good at. He sure as shit doesn't know anything about football and personnel. And now he's trying to apply, like, I'm going to go get the number 1 overall pick. Kyle, do you know it's not a distressed asset?
The number 1
overall freaking pick of the draft.
Yeah, but it's valuable. It's shiny.
Wow.
But it's valuable.
It's called radio banter. That's radio banter. That's what that is.
But tell me where this guy is not seeing the forest from the trees. Like, you made your money a certain way. Like Florida State.
Well, he got
whining.
No, he got football osmosis with the Steelers.
That's what it was.
Not bad.
But then he asked his wife.
Well, the thing is, that's also become a narrative on my show on the text line, especially. A lot of folks want to talk. I want to have a bigger conversation about Nicole Tepper's involvement in the decision making. Some going so far as to suggest that she picked Bryce because he was so adorable.
Well, look, to be fair, because this conversation can get sexist really quick. Okay,
of course it can.
I don't like that. I'll straight up say I do not like that. However, in the case of the messaging, which gets back to the front of our conversation, they were very adamant about Nicole Tepper's role in all of this stuff. So you do welcome questions about, well, wait a minute, who's ultimately making decisions? Are you making decisions based on football? Or are you making decisions based on, well, I like this person? Now, the two things can be true at once. You can like this person, they're also good at football, but it does open up those questions and who's ultimately making the decisions in Charlotte.
Yeah, so, I think that's a concern that people have.
It gets back to messaging as always.
No, of course. That's when I said what I said a second ago about that. I mean, it's not, it can get sexist, absolutely, but it's simply who's involved. Yeah. And why are they involved? What are their strengths? Why are they in these rooms where key decisions are being made? And look, you're right. If Nicole Tepper is an asset, awesome. That's great. Sure. That's unquestionably a good thing. But it's the first time that she's been involved, and overall the Tepper reign has been completely negative. And so you can't point to any positives. And then you start asking all these questions. And the truth is, when things are bad, everything's bad. When things are bad, you can point to literally everything as a source of it, as the origin of why things are going wrong, as the reason that decisions aren't being made correctly. And unfortunately, she's being lumped into that. And, the extent of her involvement, don't know.
Kyle Bailey, WFNZ, joining us on the Heaster Automotive Hotline. Before we say goodbye, what's the dog's name? Does the dog have opinions?
That's Bo.
That's Bo?
That's Bo. But I think Bo needs let out right now. But Bo's a prima donna. It's raining here at Lake Norman. And he doesn't like to get wet. And so he needs to go out. Yet as soon as I take him to that door, he's going to turn and go back to the couch. So,
all right, man. Yeah. Well, go let the dog out, all right?
All right. Sounds good, fellas. Appreciate you.